McClellan. This is my brother Ryan McClellan and my dad Dan. And special guest today in studio as well is Zeke.
I'll become the family psychiatrist at halftime.
Yeah. Dad's like, don't worry, it's really early. I'm like, what the heck is
Calm
going
down,
on today?
We're in the natty, baby.
I know I was in church when I seen the alert go off, and so I gave an extra hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
So
So
it makes you feel very appreciative that he joined us today.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
it must be worth my time. And
You made such a big impact about your life with Jesus Christ and the way that you love God and the way you show it every day. And you're starting to see this, the younger generation that might have looked up to you when you played.
Yeah.
And now what they're doing with Ohio State just did, I'd like to just hear your
we
comment.
should all treat people like Danielle treats people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amen.
It would be a better place.
Hey, Mattcast family. I'm Ryan McClellan with Right Mark Roofing. We're a company grounded in faith, family, and service. We believe in doing honest work, treating people right, and showing up when it matters. Because that's what strong families and strong communities do. If your roof needs attention, I'd be honored to help. Feel free to email me or text me. My contact information will be listed below. Thank you and enjoy this episode.
I was going to say the thing I told Krista to allow me to get this is I was going to record all my episodes in like 1 day or 2 days out of the month. That never happened. I was recording once a week. And she was like, you said. But whatever.
Yeah.
But now I'm figuring out I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to follow up my last 99 episode. It's been over a year and I haven't recorded on 99. My last episode was Ted Ginn Jr. I'm like, how am I supposed to?
That was an incredible
Yeah, we did it in Cleveland
episode.
with the Cleveland sign behind us with the
saw
skyline. I was like, how am I supposed to follow this?
That was pretty sweet. We were over here trying to get into the spring game just to do a podcast on that, and it's a whole different. You have to jump through a lot of hoops.
Oh
and stuff
yeah.
like that. Media
Well, I had to
wise.
hook up with the
To be like the Bucknuts and get down there on the field.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to get on the field and like, hey, shoot some pictures and stuff like that.
Like here we are as a Mattcast, you know.
Yeah.
because
We didn't even pay for the tickets.
being a
$10.
being a fan and getting tickets and being on the actual the media. is a completely different.
well with the
credentials.
the Ohio National High School Football Hall of Fame being in Canton now too. They gave me access. It's kind of sucks. We went on a family vacation. We had it planned, obviously. But when they gave me the credentials and I had free game to interview with Bernie Kosar, Eric Dickerson, Ted Ginn Jr., Eddie George, I'm just like, I'm going to be gone. No.
Oh, I would have said, sorry, family, we're rescheduling.
You don't
This
know
means a lot to Dad.
You don't know my wife.
No.
This don't work. I mean, you know her, but you don't know her. This ain't gonna
No,
work out.
I could imagine she was not. She wasn't.
No, I didn't even
Shout
bring
out
that
to
up.
Krista Gardner, by the
Yes.
Yeah.
way, who made Percy look so good today.
And
He's
Ryan.
looking good.
And also did my hair.
Oh, she cut your hair too?
She cuts my hair as well. So I gotta say nice things about Krista so that I don't go into my next haircut appointment
Keeps you looking good.
and cut it the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's always a threat. You know, you got to take care of your barbers, your doctors, your
Yeah.
dentists.
So shout out to you, Krista.
Yes.
Well, and
yes,
she's
we love you.
she's much more than a hairdresser, I would imagine. A lot of
sure.
times that position becomes a counselor.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
She does. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does she counsel you at all, Ryan? When you're in the
No, they probably just talk.
I know
about-
my barber does. I go to Julie Scott. And I just unload on her sometimes.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm like, I didn't even ask you how your day is going. I just came right in here and just.
And I
This
think-
is me.
Yeah. I think it might be different with me and Krista just because we go to the church together.
Yeah.
Percy and I have such a good relationship and stuff. And it's like a natural flow, I feel like.
They probably just talk about how
to
terrible I
complain.
am.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, our kids both go to Dover together, the
Yeah,
South.
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like,
pretty cool.
I'm asking her parenting questions like, does Peyton come home from school like Ripley does and angry?
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And then
Peyton's always angry.
she told me, she's like, Peyton came home and said she didn't have enough time at lunch. I'm like, Ripley says the exact same thing. And I feel like it's just like they're too much socialism.
Yeah.
Because Ripley is social bug.
Oh, is she?
Too
And
much
Peyton is-
socializing.
Peyton's a social
Less
butterfly.
talk and more eating. What they need to do in them schools.
I perfected the social. I'm a social butterfly, but I also get my food down. I'm a professional eater. So
You're dangerous when it comes to me, man. Food's been flying out. You're talking
Well,
about.
I think I
that's why I
spit
ate
your
my.
direction.
I ate my donut over there. I didn't want to get you with a sprinkle or anything.
well, you got to wipe down your computer. I know you got the keyboard cover, but as I'm talking, I'm trying to not let it distract me. But I'm just seeing spit go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope he didn't see that while I'm talking.
I didn't shower yet, so it'll work out perfect.
But no, yeah. So we just talked about me getting drafted.
So yeah, you said that was a pivotal point on two things because it sounded like you reconnected or re-sparked your faith.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was awesome that you're seeing your dad recommit his life was a huge influence on your personal,
For sure.
which really I'm sure played an effect of keeping you on the right track
Yeah.
in college. But now we're propelled to a huge arena of major league, and when you get drafted to the minors, I'm glad we got to this point.
I
Because
know you
I have a lot of questions because I hold minor league players at such a high level because I know they're not getting paid very much. Their living standards aren't the greatest, and they grind. They're playing ball all the time, and I think that they have a unique way to make a great time out of sometimes maybe not a necessarily awesome situation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm happy wherever I go. Mm-hmm. Well, I pretend that I'm happy wherever I go. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Well,
This
like,
is great.
Yeah, minor league baseball is all those things you described. I think they're getting paid more now, but when I was playing, I was making $8,000 a year.
Right? Yeah.
They only had to pay you for April, May, June, July, August, and a little bit of September in the minor leagues. And the season was over. You don't get paid in spring training and none of that. My situation was a little different since I was, I don't know if I'd be considered a bonus baby. That was like a name they would give, but usually that's first rounders who get a couple mil.
Okay.
I got a $500,000 for being in the second round, which is, they get way more now.
All right.
A fourth rounder, just like 5 years after I got drafted, got double of what I got. And I was like, bro, what the heck?
Now, when they do that, do you get a big check? Or how does
Yeah,
that
I
work?
tried to get it dispersed over as much as I could, but the Phillies were like, no, we'll divide it up to 2 checks. You'll get one in 2010, and the beginning of 2011, you'll get one.
Right. Sorry, you can't, because then you're a different tax bracket, right? You got to pay taxes on that money.
Oh, yeah, that was my first time, I worked under the table before that, so that was my first job.
The IRS was like, we like this guy. We didn't know he was around.
I got that check, and I was like, they took out $90,000 out of my first check, and I was like,
Bro,
hold up.
that's my money.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't understand. I knew there were taxes, but I moved to I was smart. I moved to Florida. That was only federal.
Yeah.
I moved to Florida and put that as my address, so I didn't have any state. And they still took out 26.8% out of my first check. And I was like, that's a lot. And me, I was, growing up poor, I'm just like hitting that refresh on my bank Chase
waiting
on my MacBook.
So
I'm like,
it came through direct deposit?
Yes.
Oh my
But
God.
it took a while. So this
Oh
is
my
kind of funny.
gosh. I know what my tax return feels like when I see that extra, like, oh, there's $2,000 worth of
I
rent.
think
We're
my
going
first
to dinner.
check was $213,000.
Oh my, direct deposited.
Yes, this is how it had to happen. So it wasn't initially direct deposit from the Phillies. A check showed up, and I was
Like
obviously
paper?
Yes,
Oh no.
and I was like,
what if it got lost in the mail?
I was like, what do I do with this check? And there was so Chase banks are everywhere except Maryland and certain rural parts of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I was in Williamsport. Yeah. That's where my first year playing ball was. And I'm like, there's no Chase here. What am I going to do? So I go to this First National Bank in Williamsport, and they're like, look, we don't even have that much money in this bank. So it took almost a month for that check to clear.
Oh, jeez.
And then I get injured, get sent down to Florida, and while this check is processing in Pennsylvania, I'm like, my money, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
So
what do
luckily
you do
I
in the
had
in-between
my agent. With my agent package, there was a lawyer, financial advisor, and my financial advisor was the same financial advisor as like Ray Allen, and and he was good friends, played golf with Jordan. So yeah, he was a good financial advisor.
Yeah.
Exclusive club there.
Yeah, he got it all taken care of. And eventually he had me, in the hotel in the La Quinta in Clearwater, Florida, in this hotel not matching the money that I'm about to get in my account. This hotel was like terrible. But I'm just like, duh. And it showed up and I'm like, bet. And I didn't have Krista at that time. We were broken up because I'm stupid. So I go to Temper International Mall, blow a lot of money, Not like
Did you take any
absurd.
friends? Did you have
yeah.
So you had like the entourage, like we
Yeah,
made it.
yeah.
We made it, boys.
And none of like my high school friends. These are guys I just met.
they're
my teammates.
All new friends. They're like,
But
hey,
they
what's
didn't
up,
get,
young
they didn't
blood?
get the money I did.
But they
I'm
knew
like,
what you
let me
had.
take care of some homies,
Okay.
But I didn't go crazy. Like I bought a car. The
What kind of car was it?
It was a used 2008. So it was 2010. It was 2008 Lexus GS. So it's a nice little sporty. It's basically Lexus's version of a Honda Accord.
Right. Okay.
And, you know, put some subs in it. Never had subs before. I also didn't know this because I put two 12s in there.
Is that too much?
Couldn't keep my mirror up.
Yeah, I was gonna say. You used to, yeah.
And they had the bass thing on there, so I had the bass all the way down, probably like 5%. Still, the mirror was just falling. I'm like, okay, this is totally overkill. Who let me put this in my car? Like, but anyways, but yeah. So went and bought a car. It was like, I think my friend who was with me, we had his mom negotiating with the guy who through speakerphone because I didn't know what I was doing. So we got the car down. It was like $37,000 car. And they told me not to pay in cash because I've never borrowed more than $10,000. So this will help my credit. And I ended up paying it off earlier because I didn't want credit. Because I had someone, he actually went to Philly and his brother played football at Philly. Gary Richmond. His brother was Gabe Richmond, who played at UPenn. He's in Cleveland doing his thing. And his family is literally, they're all geniuses. They all go to Ivy Leagues. They're all great at golf. Like, if you want to model a family, go to Gabe Richmond and just look at their home. But yeah, so they're helping me out, and I'm looking at this whole situation. I'm getting, you know, and so I think you know, when you hear a lot of people just blowing money, I don't think I was that crazy. Like I still had my money lasted me like 10 years, but and it was only, you know, it was like $470,000. Minus taxes, so I don't know what. I think I ended up getting a little over $300,000. So I think it would have been nice thinking in my mind, hey, I'm going to marry Krista eventually, so let me get a nice house. But I didn't do that. So
what would you say one of your less favorite purchases of that time or use of that big money?
I bought a lot of pair of True Religion jeans, which is not in style anymore.
So how much was a pair of those jeans?
Like some were. The normal pairs were like almost $400 a pair, and then a couple pair were a little over $400 a pair. And I think I spent like $2,000 worth in one day just on jeans. And I bought some Marc Jacob glasses, or as Lil Wayne would say, I heard it in a rap song, Marc Jacob goggles. So I had to go get some Marc Jacob goggles. Right. They're not actually goggles; they're sunglasses, but they're $300. Still have those actually.
Okay. Do you still have the jeans? Are they still in the closet?
I still have a couple pair, but I just put it in those little Special Olympics or
raffles.
No, I just put it in a plastic bag. You tie it up and you put it in the donation thing. I just donated $500.
So you're telling me there's high dollar jeans hanging somewhere?
Well, they're yeah, someone has them. It was a long time ago.
Good for them, man.
Yeah, because I'm big now. I can't fit those anymore. So. And they don't stretch. You know, they weren't stretch. They weren't making stretch jeans. In 2010.
They want you. They also want you to spend more money and sound like again.
Of course.
I know. Now I understand why I've never heard of those jeans before. Because usually I'm a zero off of that, about $30. $30 to $40 is about my range for jeans. But.
Well, before I got drafted, Macy's was like high class shopping for me. And then I went to. You know, and I was thinking about when I was going to propose to Krista, I was going to get her a Louis Vuitton bag, and then I went in there, and I was like, "Dang, the belts are $1,000." Yeah,
it's nice that other people out there are living a life like that.
Yeah, good for them.
It's nice to know that they live. I mean,
but you know, my dream car was always a G-Wagon, but I've always had like a financial prowess. Even though I was making those like dumb decisions, I was never going to buy a car for like $150,000. Yeah. Even now, I'm like, how much money would I have to make to make a purchase like that? I just feel, you know, it was rooted good decisions financially on a macro situation that I know how to make, and I'm not gonna make dumb decisions. Yeah. But you know, little ones here and there.
So do you credit Dave Ramsey and Financial Peace for that?
No, because later, getting out at like. You know, once my money was gone, and then me and Krista are, you know, well, before I got called up. So, not having a house, not having anything to kind of have my, like, I'm set now. Yeah. Was kind of scary, but then I got called up, and obviously. That helps. So, and this is funny. So, in the minor leagues, I was making $8,000 a year. Then, when I was a free agent, the Indians signed me as a free agent. I was making $8,000 a month, which was $40,000 for the year because you still get paid for 5 months. And I felt rich making $40,000 a year. I'm like, let's go!
Yeah, we made it.
Yeah, and then I got called up, and I was making $40,000 every 2 weeks before taxes.
Yeah, that's a big jump. Now, at any point, did the bank call you or because like I could imagine if I got a check and into my Chase account and
Well, I had
200
Chase.
some-
I was a Chase private client, and I had 2 banks and U.S. Bank private client.
Okay.
So
well, that's
but now
kinda
I'm just
weird.
I have a normal check.
But I think the
Chase
bank would be
checking.
calling me. I'm like,
Did you steal this? What bank did you rob?
so we're gonna go ahead and lock all accounts until your savings reflects what's in the checking, so that we know you.
But no, I mean it was all learning experience.
That's cool.
And it was, I think, nothing against Krista. I feel like our roles reversed. She was a super frugal one. She's the one that kept us afloat. She worked while she was in college. And, it was funny while I was on my weight loss journey in college because they recruited me at 220 and I stepped on campus at 240 and couldn't run anymore. They were just like, what? So me and Krista would be going out to eat. And she's getting the big old burger and fries, and I'm getting the little Caesar salad. And they would always put the salad in front of her and put the burger in front of me. And then we'd have to switch. Same thing would happen. They would always put the check in front of me, and she'd be like, and she would do it in a hilarious way, too. She wouldn't wait for them to leave and go, she would just go, boop, no, I'm paying for that in the middle of the waitress. I'm like, damn.
I'm in charge around here.
So she kept us afloat, and then obviously getting called up was a big drastic change. I even told her to quit her job because I was like, I made it. I made it. I'm so glad she did not. Did not know the career was going to abruptly end. 2 years after that. But yeah, and then the baseball thing is such a different thing. They go by day on your payment. So if I get called up for 2 weeks, I get those 2 weeks paid for being in MLB. And then once I go sit back down, it's back to the it's still a good pay. Minor leagues, after you've been called up, you make a $90,000 salary based on the whole year.
Oh.
Yeah.
So even if you go back down. So like our boy Tristan McKenzie, he's still making some.
Oh, well, he's probably in a different thing because he's had good times up there.
Right.
He's been up there.
How do they do
I
that?
I think he might be on a separate deal. He might have signed. So I'm not sure how his is structured. I know like Lindor, he was still on his rookie contract when I was up there. And for someone like that, you just make league minimum until you make your check. But if you're someone like Mike Trout or Bryce Harper, they sign you as early as they can so they can get you at a discount. If they would have waited until it was like arbitration time or free agent time for Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, they would have had to pay out the wazoo.
I see.
So you usually have to play 3 years before you get your first contract. So Lindor had to play, I think he was special, obviously. So his wasn't full 3 years. I think the Indians were trying to pay him before the fact.
Okay.
But you make league minimum, and I think league minimum when I was called up was like $565,000 or something like that. I don't know what it is now, but such a long time ago when I was playing. But yeah, you make league minimum until you get your contract, and unfortunately, I didn't make it to the free agent contract time. But yeah, certain people that do, they're kind of good. You know? And then you get the great pension when you play 10 years. You get the gold card where you can go to a game, whatever. There's nice privileges to having a long career.
Yeah. Oh, so you can go to any major league game with this gold membership card?
Yeah. I think there was a MLB veteran who actually played with Jason Grilli. He played 15 years in the major leagues. And he just posted him using his gold card with his son at the park. He said, passing on traditions.
That's awesome.
I'm like, that's awesome. But it reminded me how a person hates baseball. So I'm not passing on any tradition to him.
So he doesn't like to watch it either?
No, I mean, not many people who even love baseball like watching it.
Oh, come on now. They're trying to. They're changing the game a little bit. The pitch count, the times. They're trying to.
But I feel like
reduce
for baseball enthusiasts, I don't know if they like that. But at the new crowd, I just don't feel like baseball. We're doing a good job. Dover's even Little League. I think there's only 3 teams. So I'm like, there was like 12 Little League teams when I played. But how
many travel baseball teams are there?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I think unfortunately that's just the kind of world.
Well, maybe that's it then. Maybe they're just not playing rec and they're all traveling.
Yeah, and I don't mean it unfortunate. I think any kind of ball is good.
True,
but it just opens the door for if I pay more money, I can get better.
And see, when I played, I didn't pay. They came in and said, "Hey, we want Percy on our team."
Yeah,
my parents, we would not have been able to do it anyway. I didn't have to pay $2,000.
Yeah,
literally, my dad was at work. Someone would come get me to go to the games.
Yeah.
My parents didn't have to take me. They didn't have to travel
anywhere.
Probably
the coach. He's like, I'll be by. I'll pick him up.
It was one of the coaches.
Yeah, he's like, I'll tell you what. If you let him play my team, I'll pick him up. I'll feed him lunch on the way home.
And the home field was Thurman Munson. So he'd have to drive from Canton, come pick me up, drive back to Canton.
He wanted you,
Yeah.
but now see my youth experience just a little bit different. All right, we'll try to get him in at the end of the game. All right, that's all we can say. That's all we can do.
Well, I was playing on Dover's All-Stars.
Okay.
And we played against the Canton Diamond Dogs. That was their name at the time. And I went on vacation for the first game. And they beat us like 25-2 or something like that. And then I came back and pitched against them the second time we played them, and they beat us 5-1. And they were like, yeah, I pitched, they still got to me. Obviously, they scored 5 runs. But, them seeing me pitch, they're like, yep, we won him. So they kind of snatched me from the Dover All-Stars. Our season was over anyway.
Now, I played baseball in Canton
Okay.
as a young blood. I played for the Canton Mighty Mites.
Mighty Mites,
So
huh?
it was behind the Boys and Girls Club. Do you know where the Boys and Girls Club is? in
I
Canton?
do not.
It's on the
Is it
east
near the-
end. It's on the
Okay.
east end of Canton. It's kind of the elementary school I used to go to was Baxter Elementary School.
Okay.
So I would say where all the industries are, the steel mills and
Yep.
stuff like that. It's kind of on that end
okay.
of Canton.
Gotcha. Yeah, my mom lives South Canton,
yeah,
where it was
Canton
super
South.
safe.
Well,
Well, not Canton South. She was north of Canton South.
so southern Canton. Yeah,
but
yeah.
where it's
So-
Cherry,
Yeah, exactly.
where you gotta
Well,
not
that's
get
where-
out of your vehicle.
Well, I grew-
stay in the car and go.
I grew up there, man. I still, joke with my mom because she was young when she had me. She went to Altman Nursing School, and the Army National Guard was right up there, too.
Okay.
So if you know where Haggie's Chocolates is,
Yep.
and you know where the gas station closer headed towards Altman, and those apartment buildings right there, that's where we lived.
Oh, okay.
And it was an interesting transition because she was from Tuscarawas County.
Oh, gosh.
But I was just a baby, so I didn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
know. But all my elementary school years were in Kansas City School District. So,
Oh, okay.
like Lehman would have been my middle school, McKinley would have been my high school.
Yeah. All my younger siblings graduated from McKinley.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom, someone got shot 200 feet from my mom's house.
Yeah.
And she was just like, they ain't gonna shoot me. I'm like, Mom, you ever heard of a stray bullet? These aren't trained guys these aren't the
No.
military.
Yeah.
Like, they're not
There for a while.
pinpointing.
Yeah. And there for a while, Ken had like the murder capital of Ohio
Yeah.
for a while. But I think Akron took the.
Yeah, we had acronym for Ken, but I'm not going to share it on the podcast. Anyways,
Yeah.
but
Great,
yeah,
you had a great career. It sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah.
Let's fast forward to that 2016 Cleveland Indians team.
What happened that year? No, I'm joking.
One of the greatest seasons in Cleveland's history. Probably.
Yeah. I got the note here as you got to see one of the best baseball game sevens they've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there in person, unfortunately. So they invited me.
Cancel the podcast. Cut. We're done.
So I got called
Just
up
kidding.
August 31st,
Yes.
2016. That's when I made my debut. And, they were looking for me to be a part of the playoff roster. I
Yes.
was pitching well, but I like to blame, AAA. They were just abusing me. Sorry, Coach or Manager Trimmy. But he abused me.
Okay.
And by that time,
They got ball games to win though too, right?
they do. He's trying to get a job.
They're trying to
and
win.
AAA, they're not trying to baby you. AA, they still babied you. Hey, you're a prospect. You're going to pitch this day. Then you're going to be off. AAA, they didn't do that. I remember throwing 3 days in a row, and on the third day, I didn't think I was going to. I didn't even have a jersey on. And I'm just chilling. And they're like, Percy, get ready. And I'm like, they're like, no, seriously. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I didn't get any warm-up pitches. I just went in, put my jersey on, put my cleats, came back out, straight to the mound.
Results. That's what they want.
But they didn't get results that day. But I was pitching really well, and I got called up. Didn't think I was going to. It was looking scary, but ended up getting called up. Pitched okay, not to everyone's expectations because the velo was starting to drop. Bauer even came when I was coming off the field one time, was like, bro, I thought you threw hard. And I'm like, hey, chill. And I hit 96 that inning, but,
Yeah.
people were like, oh, you throw 99.
They just
wanna
razz
see
it,
that.
yeah.
And, it's a pipe dream, but I always think, like, at this day, see, you saw it that time, didn't you? But,
No, I felt it.
but I always think, like, in my eyes, I was going to be the Class A. My pitch, he throws a cutter, I throw a sinker.
Yes.
But, I've never hit 100 like he has. But that's how I envision myself until I, wasn't, I got injured, then I lost control. I wasn't throwing strikes like I wanted to. And it was just, but got called up and I pitched well enough, but they could tell, I think my last game against the Tigers was near when we clinched for the playoffs. I was like 90 to 92. And Yeah, Tito was just like, yeah, go home and don't pick up a ball for a while. They invited me back for some games, but not to sit in uniform because they always had some people down in Arizona who were ready in case there were injuries during the playoffs. That wasn't me. They were like, go rest your arm because I also think it had a bit to do with how much I threw. I think I threw like 93 innings total that year as a reliever. I didn't pitch in the playoffs. And then Andrew Miller, who we all knew got abused in the playoffs, they threw him like every game. With the regular season and the playoffs, he only threw 90 innings together. So,
so that really puts it in perspective.
So I was like, I threw a lot that year. My arm was like,
Jello, probably.
yeah.
Damn.
And I was still effective, but I'm not the same pitcher when I'm throwing 90, 92. Because I throw fastballs 80% of the time. And if it's not got the life on it, just like Clase, he throws fastballs probably even higher percentage, 90% than I do. So to me, 2017 was going to be the year. But 2016, I went back, made some appearances. They were using me as the black kid to go to inner city and help the kids. Like MLB was trying to get more back into the inner city and try to get the love of baseball back into it because, baseball kind of takes a little bit. Obviously, you can just throw wiffle ball and play one-on-one or whatever, but it's easy to play a pickup basketball game. You just need one piece of equipment, one basketball, one football.
Whereas if you're going to play baseball, everybody has to have a glove.
Yep. You
Everybody
need a
has
bat.
You need a bat.
It's just, it's more of a struggle.
So what's Major League Baseball trying to do? Are they putting gloves in kids' hands, or are they just?
Yeah, a lot of equipment, and they would make MLB players go and make appearances and try to like I just did a camp. I think it was during the Toronto Blue Jays series. They invited me to a game. And I made an appearance before the game where I went and played and spoke with inner city kids in Cleveland, and the Guardians are trying to they're doing a lot now with the community.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they're trying to, but back then it was early stages. They were trying to initiate this, and I was all for it. I'm like, yeah, and I still do that to this day.
Yeah,
they pay me a little bit, and I go up and do camps with but the kids nowadays are just they're crazy. There's Cleveland Hall of Fame guys teaching them in this camp, and they just don't know who they are. They're not showing respect. The Hall of Famer, said Hall of Famer will ask a question. Some kid will go, "Your mom." I'm just like, what are we doing, bro?
Yeah. I saw that at the Football Hall of Fame. You know how sometimes they'll bring, like John Gruden was taking snaps and working on mesh points with kids, and they're taking the ball. And I'm like, man, all the dads have phones out.
Yeah. The kids are like,
all the kids are like, oh, this old dude's giving me the ball. I'm like, that old dude's name's Franco Harris. Do you know who that guy is? You have no idea who that dude is. He's like, yeah, that guy. And I'm like, this is a chance in a lifetime. And the only people that are paying attention are the dads. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I think I still have the video. It was John Gruden was handing the ball off to Franco Harris, demonstrating the appropriate mesh point. And I just thought, what a moment.
I never got to
NFL
meet
history.
John Gruden. I wish I would have, because him and Coach Parrish coached together. And they won a Super Bowl together, I think, with the Buccaneers.
Well, Coach Gruden, I know you're on YouTubes a lot now with the Barstool. If you
get
get
a
a chance
to YouTube, you say YouTubes.
Well, that's how. I think that's how he says it. Because
that's how he says
you
it?
kids and your YouTubes, knock twice if you're with me. But no, I think we're always welcome to have you on the show, Coach. But he's one of my favorites. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Kids kind of lose. Yeah. It loses its luster if they don't know who you are.
True.
But it's huge that they're making efforts and making that, recognizing it and trying to do something about it. Because the game of baseball, as we all know at this table, it doesn't matter what level you play it at. There's so many life lessons that you learn. Because sometimes the ball goes in between your legs and you let your team down. Yeah. There's other times you go to the box and they need you to hit a base hit and you strike out. And nothing sums up life more than that. Especially, and it's the only sport where you're doing pretty good if 3 out of 10 times at the plate you hit the ball.
Game of failure, except for pitchers.
Wow.
One big question I have to ask you, Percy. You make it to Cleveland, and you're in the bullpen with some great guys. Okay.
Yeah, they're all right.
Well, some of those guys, yeah.
You get the call comes through. Tito calls it in. You're in the bullpen. You start warming up. The whole emotions are starting to come in, right? You're building it up. You walk out into Progressive Field, right? This is still at that time. Walk out. What's going through your mind as you're making that trot To me, I'm thinking of Wild Thing. He's coming out. He's got it all cut and shit. He's super focused. You can just tell he's ready to come in and just throw the lights out in this place. What's going through your mind as you're walking down?
Well, first, and I know it's like been an hour and a half now, but I'll try not to make this long. But I've shared this a few times too. But when I wasn't supposed to go in that was my first day I got called up, and Cody Allen was going to go in because it was the same situation. But then we scored 2 extra runs. So then I had a feeling. They told Cody, slow it down. And I was like, oh, shoot. And the call comes down, and I look down, and I'm
They still do it by phone?
Yeah. And I'm like, and he goes, purse. And I was like, oh, God. And then the bullpen's got 8 flights of stairs, so I'm already breathing heavy by the time I even throw my first pitch to warm up. And everyone from Tuscarawas County is there, and including one of my best friend's dads, who stands behind the fiberglass behind the catcher. First pitch I throw is right at him. He ducks out of the way, goes over the catcher's head. I'm like, oh, this is great. And but by the time it's time for me to go in, I have to go back down the stairs and then run all the way to the mound. And I was gassed.
Okay. Probably thinking, don't trip.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
You don't want to trip doing that.
The legs were like not even there. It felt like I was floating. So I'm just like, don't fall. Don't want to be on SportsCenter now saying, look at Percy Garner making his debut, falls flat on his face. So that's literally all I'm thinking. And then the second thing I think when I get to the mound is, okay, catch your breath. And damn, it's almost 10 o'clock. It is bright. It feels like it's noon. You know how they say the lights are bright? It's real.
Yeah.
Like, minor leagues, you have to get your catcher to paint his fingernails in neon colors so you can see his signs because the lights aren't that great.
Hitting down
And
in
then
the
in the
minors.
big leagues, I'm like, is it daytime? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And great moment. I think a lot of people watching who have seen me pitch before knew I was nervous because the amount of times I was spitting. Usually I pitch, maybe I spit on the way back, but they're closing in and I'm like, Coach Bertram, my high school coach, is like, why were you spitting so much? I'm like, I don't know. I had an abnormal amount of saliva in my mouth. I don't know. But I was just like, throw strikes, throw hard. You know what you're doing. They put their pants on and their cleats on just like you. Yep. And that actually dealt with that fine until Miguel Cabrera came to the plate in a few outings later, because that was against the Twins. Got my first strikeout. It was great. Except Shaw, threw one to the backstop after having 2 strikes and let my run come in. But I always tease because Shaw is one of the best teammates, and I love Brian Shaw. But yeah, we had Andrew Miller, Brian Shaw, Cody Allen. We had side lefty. Oh my gosh, good friend of mine, Kyle Crockett.
Kluber?
No, Kluber was starting.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
Just in the bullpen, yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Bullpen special, we don't care about those starters. No, we don't care about Carrasco.
You had a heck of a starting lineup too. I was gonna say
They called it
Bauer.
I think they called it the Pen of Doom. Was that?
Yeah, well, it was that and the bullpen bullies.
The bullpen bullies.
So Carrasco broke his arm against Detroit. First pitch of the game, I think it was. Line drive back at him, broke his arm.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it was just a bullpen day. So that's when the bullpen bullies really came.
I like that idea.
And I was like, yeah, my future's bright. I can't wait to be a part of this team. This is great. I want to be a part of the the playoff roster and all that. But I never knew what was about to happen, that we were going to go to the World Series. I thought we were building. I thought like next year is going to be our chance. I'm going to be here for the whole year, 2017, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know,
just made it a run.
One game away,
run.
right?
the run.
They
Well,
lost.
it was game 7.
One game away for 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We rolled 3 games.
But,
and I always blame it on LeBron. The Cavs just came back from a 3-1 deficit. Right. He was at our games. The game, we were up 3-1, and the Cavs came to our game after having a party, like a Halloween party-ish, where they were celebrating and had the death and tombstones for Klay Thompson and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and they come to our game. JR's got his shirt off and all this stuff.
As he always did. He liked to
and
take
Chris
his shirt
is
off.
like, there was some RJ guy next to me with his shirt off. I'm like, RJ? I'm like, you mean J.R. Smith? She goes, that's it. But yeah, I always blame the Cavs for, and obviously I don't believe in bad juju because I believe in God.
Sure.
But,
right.
I'm like, oh, jinxes really don't exist, but my human side sometimes comes out.
So we're talking about the Pen of Doom. Mm-hmm. We're talking about one of the questions I had was, as a fan of baseball, anytime they pan to the bullpen, there's sometimes, especially in long games, there's some funny things that can be seen out there in the bullpen. So I was curious what maybe your top moment in the bullpen, maybe your top game, because I know sometimes they get a little ornery in there.
Yeah,
You got some rain delays, or it's just like.
So we didn't have any rain delays, and our pen was like veteran professionals.
Okay.
They would have good times, but none of that crazy stuff you see.
Yeah.
We didn't have I would say Brian Shaw was probably our wackiest person, but he wasn't even really wacky.
No.
It's just you're looking at him and you assume that he's not that great of an athlete. And you're like, how is this guy a professional
The eye
pitcher?
test,
and then you see him throw and you're like, oh. But if you see him throw a football, if you see him do anything, he's athletic. It's weird. But
I actually know
outside
exactly. I have a lot in common with
yeah, there we go. But minor league bullpens, I will say one thing. I don't know if you guys know the name Francisco Mejia. One of my favorite moments. He's not even a pitcher. He's a catcher, but he was a top prospect with the Indians. I don't know if he's with the Padres or who he's with now, but he was in the bullpen, was pissed that he was in the bullpen because, he's a star.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be catching bullpens in double. This was in Akron. This is in double A. And our bullpen in Akron was legit that year. Some of the guys got traded away for Andrew Miller to join to the Yankees.
Okay.
So it was me, Ben Heller. Ben Heller threw 100.
Yeah.
Still does. He actually just blew his arm out for the third time or something like that this year. We had a guy named J.P. Fireheisen who was 95 plus. Our bullpen was ridiculous. We had a dude named Cole Salser who's still in the league right now.
Yeah.
I was like, our bullpen was legit.
And that's the Rubber Ducks?
Yeah.
Are
the
they
Rubber Ducks, Akron
Or
Rubber
are they
Ducks.
Arrows now?
No, we were Arrows
They
before.
were Arrows before. Now
Arrows,
they're
were you there for that transition?
No.
I was gonna say
We played against them when I was with the Phillies.
Okay.
But yeah, so all that's going on, and Mejia's down there catching, and you can tell he's just not into it. And he gets called in to pinch hit because we tie the game and we need him. He had like the longest hitting streak in minor leagues that year or something like that. So he has to
come from the bullpen.
And he takes his time. He's not like, crap, I gotta go hit. He's just like slow jogging. Everybody on the field is just looking at him, waiting. I'm like, bro. We're just like, this is not,
Wow.
And so you hear the other team, it's just Bush League. And then he gets up there and hits a walk-off hit. It's just first pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he hadn't even swung the whole day. He's just chilling.
What a story.
Imagine.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
he was that guy. He didn't even look like he cared. Mm-hmm. And he'd just go up and mash
Just
the ball.
shut up and do it.
And he was short. He wasn't like, if you saw him, you probably just wouldn't think nothing of it with clothes on. But then.
You never know, guys. That's what I'm saying. Don't judge a book by its character.
Exactly. Well, especially baseball athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never, obviously we grew up in an era with, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds,
Wow.
when everyone looked a certain way.
Huge.
And then you look at, Miguel Cabrera, Manny Machado. Those guys aren't like physical specimens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Miguel Cabrera is a big human being, and he struck fear in me.
But they just don't have the extra supplemental.
Yeah, you're not going to be like, wow, look how much Miguel Cabrera benches.
My favorite baseball player growing up was Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, yeah, mine too.
Mm-hmm. Yours too?
I love playing with him. Yeah.
I loved him
I
too.
love Griffey and Pedro Martinez.
Pedro Martinez.
Love Pedro, dude.
Who's your favorite baseball player now? As a grown man, as a dad.
I would say, I wasn't expecting that question. I would say,
It wasn't on the outline.
I would say my favorite player right now. It was they passed away. It was Jose Fernandez, but now I'll say it sounds weird. But I'll say Emmanuel Clase.
Okay.
Really?
Yep, because a lot of people, they don't understand what it is to be a closer, and once you are great at it, there's no coming back from that. People just expect you to get the save every time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a constant. I don't feel like a closer can get complacent because once you become successful, it's like an expectation. Oh, well, Clase is going to come in and close it down. And then when you don't, it's like the world's on fire.
It's kind of like what the kickers, I think, get that. You're in for one job to kick the ball.
Yeah.
Kick
Well, like
fields.
Justin Tucker.
So closers are meant to come in and close the game.
Especially when like Justin Tucker, his whole career, he's been doing, and we're not talking about his off the field stuff, but he's been like, he's the kicker. And then this year he struggles, and everyone's like, what is going on?
I
And kinda how
drafted you in my fantasy league.
Well, yeah, that's another aspect
Right?
football players have to deal with. But this year, I think Clase blew some saves, and everyone's like,
Right? Yeah.
just how he ended last year. And I'm like, dude, this dude pretty much had a 90-some% save rate.
Yeah.
But the only one you remember is obviously the one in the playoffs that, you know.
That's the
And
disconnect.
I'm like,
Didn't he come out and say something like just relax or something like that?
I don't know. He should.
My favorite
Just
Guardian
chill.
is Jose.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love Jose, and I respect him because of what he did, taking less money, wanted to be here.
Yeah.
Building those
yeah.
fields in Cleveland.
I can relate with a lot of that. You know, obviously,
That's another guy that I'm surprised that is still performing, though. Like, because you look at him, you're like, he's getting a little older, you know? And then he goes.
but no one knows how old he is, really.
And then.
He barely speaks English. You think someone was able to read that birth certificate?
But no, Jose, he's hilarious, too.
What was that, Bench Warmers, the guy with the birth certificate?
I am
Yes.
12.
Well,
I am 12 years old.
and you know, I love this dude too. I loved him when he was playing with the Indians as Farstar Carmona. They found out his real name was Roberto Hernandez,
Right.
and that, you know, it just happens. But
Now,
yeah,
Ramirez is from the Dominican, right?
yep,
And I think in Major League Baseball, isn't there a larger representation of people
yeah,
from
oh
the
yeah,
Dominican?
yeah, especially now. I mean,
Because-
there was, but now it's like,
Yeah, and
yeah,
they
it's, you know, Venezuelans, Dominicans, Puerto
Sure.
Ricans, they're taking over the league.
and it's cool in an aspect of considering where they're coming from,
Yeah,
because
I mean, that's all they have, though.
I've been to
They-
Haiti,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is I actually think my Uncle Phil had an opportunity to coach Team USA high school baseball and took
Really?
a team to play in the Dominican Republic.
Ah.
And I think once you see all the other obstacles that they have, life throws to them.
Oh yeah.
Well, one, you're never closer to God because there's no distractions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's either the God or the devil,
Yeah, yeah.
especially over there.
Quick point. Oh, don't forget what you're saying.
Yes.
The thing I always think is the Dominicans and Venezuelans have it right. When they mess up, they yell at the devil. Over here in America, we say, "Oh my God," you know,
Oh, that's such a great
and
point.
they say "Diablo."
Yes.
So a lot of the American players started adopting that.
You're
you
right.
know,
That's
but-
very cool.
But yeah, go ahead.
Well, and you know, we were talking about inner city kids and the lack of equipment. You want to talk about some people that get
Oh, yeah.
creative with baseball. And I'm sure we've all watched sports enough where you see they do the specials where they're taping stuff, egg crates
Yep.
to the inside of their pump. That's a whole nother love for
It
the
is.
game.
It's a whole
And
different
what a huge story and humbling in the aspect that we live in a wonderful country, that there are people out there that basically risk it all and give it all, everything they got, just for the opportunity to be able to play baseball in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind
And
of
those
cool.
dudes, and a lot of them, they remind me of me. Well, number one, they all think I'm Dominican. When I got there, they would talk to me in Spanish.
Really?
And I'm like, I'm from Ohio.
No, oh,
And they're like, oh. But coaches, you know, if they see me at a distance, they start saying something. I'm like, they're like, oh, sorry, Purse. And I thought it was funny when fellow Dominican people, you know, players would come up and be like, start talking to me, and they think I'm from Dominican, just because that's how well the representation is in baseball.
sure, yeah.
And
But they have. So there's something to be said about that too. I mean, they just have a natural ability. The game is such a big deal to them.
well, and that's their main focus, though. They're not going to pick up the basketball, and they're
No.
going straight to a dirt field, and it's baseball 100% of the time.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, they're not doing anything else. It's baseball. So I think that's why their success is there. Their focus is that. They love it. They've got a rich history. They've got players they look up to, you know.
Yeah, and they don't need a $300, $400 bat.
Nope.
I'm just thinking of like our youth and their youth.
It's just easier though. Like what I was talking about earlier. Yes, it requires a lot, but if you are seeing people before you do this with a stick and whatever, however they make their ball, then you can see it. But if you're looking at it and you're like, oh well, Johnny's got the best equipment. I can't play baseball. He's got a Easton Bad and
Sure.
Rawlings Glove.
It's like a competitive advantage, you think? Yeah.
And over there, they're not seeing that growing up. They're not seeing. The only time they see that is when an athlete who's coming back to do a camp or a team. Like all teams have their own academies over there now in Venezuela and Dominican. So that's when they see
Is that a big portion of getting them over here too, you think?
For sure. I mean, some organizations do it better than others. The Indians are great at, kind of getting them over, teaching them English, and learning more about them and trying to be there for them. Ultimately, it's obviously still, we know there's rich talent over in Dominican and Venezuela, so we want to get those players into our organization. But ultimately, if those academies didn't exist, I don't think it would be over time. It would get to where it's at now. But I don't think it would have accelerated like it did, like it has now, where
Makes sense.
the majority of the league now, I feel like, is Dominican, Venezuelan. I don't think it would be that way if they didn't understand. Okay, these people love baseball. They are hungry. Let's go to them.
Sure.
Instead of, hey, let's give this 16-year-old $30,000 to come over here and hope it pans out. If it doesn't, send them back.
I see what you're saying. I didn't realize that they. I heard tell of academies, but I guess I didn't put it on that aspect. How about guys going back? Do you see a lot of that then in the majors? Guys going back and giving back to their communities. Does that help on the later?
I would say the majority of them do. I've never went personally. I almost played in a winter league in Venezuela, but one of my friends who was actually going to be managing the team was like, "Don't come over here."
A little dangerous.
Yeah, at the time. And actually, I think that year someone got kidnapped. So I was like, okay. And then I think someone local, Logan Kosar,
They're gonna need a big bag though if they're gonna come after you. We're gonna need some bigger ropes if we're gonna tie this guy up. That's for sure.
But I think Logan Kosar was in Mexico, and his resort got surrounded, and he was able to get out and come back home. But
That's crazy.
That's
yeah,
insane.
it's nuts. It's nuts.
Well, that's for another podcast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm like,
No, this is
I know
going
what's
great.
on.
I think this is way better than all the material we had to cover.
I mean,
anyways.
I think the biggest thing I found out of this, and I think we found our title, is the drive. When you talk about the community and how our community stands behind everyone, when we talked about going to the championship level, we all stick together as a community. And then you talk about baseball and how the certain communities in the Venezuelan and in Puerto Rico's, their drive for the love of the game. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, you had probably in your heart was the love of the game. And now as you transition back into the journey back to Dover, after all of that struggles and the triumphs and everything that you went through, now you're a big part of this community and you want to give back to this community. And I want to touch base on this, before we end the show and stuff, is the Rainbow Connection and the Challenger Baseball. And through all that, though, how are you able to ground your faith? Because we are a big thing in faith, family, and football.
For sure.
On our Mattcast. How are you able to do all that, all the triumphs, all the tribulations, your faith still standing strong, and it has been as you are now?
Well, I think it's just how I looked at things. Obviously, I had the support from not only my family, but friends, parents, coaches, teachers. And to me, that support really hit home in 2014. I alluded to me coming when I was with the Phillies in AA, facing against the Rubber Ducks in 2014. And I'm starting the game. I was a starting pitcher at that time. And I run out to the mound, and everyone gives me a standing ovation. And Lindor's like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, I live 45 minutes south of here. He's like, oh. But that support, I left 30 tickets for people. I didn't know 90% of the 5,000 people in attendance were going to be cheering for me. And I was like, what the heck? So that was the moment. I knew I had some support, but I was struggling at that time. So when that happened, I was just like, wow, okay, this is crazy. All right, let me, it made me kind of refocus in. And it didn't instantly get better, but a few years later is when I made my debut. So the support from local people kind of had me, okay, I want to do this for those people who not only, made it possible, but allowed me to dream and think about those things. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't realize that Cy Young was from Newcomerstown and Woody Hayes was from that area. Right. I didn't know all these things. So I'm just thinking, there's no shot. I know C. Grant, there's a lot of people who played a little bit professionally, But I was like, that's rare. And I'm not fast like C. So I don't know if this is going to happen. But they were never like, yeah, it's not going to happen, Purse. Focus on your books. Because I knew how important school was. So I did that. But just the support from the community always made me think, okay, I want to do something. Now, I will admit, I wish I could just come back with a whole bunch of millions of dollars and just give it out. But I think this is also better. I've said this before too, like being able to actually work hands-on, meet these people, and use the community's funds to give back to our community for the people who need it, where, you know, you're helping your local neighbor. It's not, you know, you're not giving it to Rainbow Connection. We're just holding it until somebody needs the help.
Right. Yeah.
And not everybody has time to, you know, sit around and study the community and see where the needs are. So that's why I think a lot of people give to the Rainbow Connection. But I thought it was always important to me just because all the support I got from people outside of my family and made it possible for me to get where I was. And I was just like, yeah, I got to come back. I always, like I said, I always envisioned it coming back and throwing millions around and getting a field named after me.
Yeah.
But I think this feels better because if I was just writing checks and people never saw me, I don't think the connection would be the same. No. So,
and there's
I'm happy.
no pressure for you to do that. So that also speaks volumes too, because sometimes, you know, you don't owe the community anything, even though you feel that you do.
Well, there's some people that act like, you know, they were kind to me, so now I feel like
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because that's not necessarily fair to you as a human being, as an adult, as a father.
Well, you know, we're kind people too, and when you're kind, you're not thinking, hey, this kid might make it, so down the road.
No. If you do make it, that's
awesome. That's
right?
awesome. Yeah.
I think we're all like-minded people here. Yeah, definitely for sure. But I think that so you're not. There's no requirement for you to give back to the community, and you chose. And I've kind of watched, you know, just in the background, in the backlight, and I see, and I've got blessed enough to see you interact personally with those organizations. I see you in the schools. I see you with the kids. And you do a fantastic job, man.
I appreciate
that.
And
I think that's worth more than any check you could ever write. The fact that I think the most valuable thing in life is our time. Mm-hmm. And you do a great job managing that, especially when you have a wife and 2 kids of your own. With that, so we're on that thing, okay? Have you been in a situation or have you found a time where you're like, you know what, I have to say no to that? And... if not, are you trying to work on those things? Like maybe you should have said no to coming on to the MattCast. Maybe I don't know. No, but I just
this
mean
all
like
worked
everybody's
out. But
pulling.
Yes, I'm not very good at saying no. The Indians actually gave all the players a book when you get called up of how to say no, or not directly saying no. Saying if someone, because you know tickets cost money. My first check from the Indians, $3,000 came out of it for the tickets that I was giving people, and I was like. And they were like,
I hope
we
you
knew
enjoyed
this
that
would
game.
happen.
Did you call anybody up and say, hey, remember those tickets?
No, I did not. But my point is not always saying no, but maybe making an alternate suggestion. So in the book that they gave to us, young players was like, hey, if someone's like, hey, can we have 5 tickets for our family? You instead say, hey, no, I'm not able to get you tickets, but if you come to the game, I'll make sure to give you some autographs and a photo after. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I still am working on that. I'm still working on the ability to prioritize my time because for me, I don't look at my time anymore as my time. It's, you know, my kids, and I don't want to take away from that because I've already done that and already put my wife through playing baseball 7 months out of the year. So I'm still working on that, but I've learned there has been some no's that have came out of my mouth. So that's good.
That is good.
But still, it's always a work in progress. I'm always like, I can do this. Yeah, I can do it. So I still should say no to certain things, but I'm getting better.
Right, because you can only do so much as one person.
Yeah.
And then you got to make time for Percy.
For sure.
But you also got to make time for your family.
For sure.
And you definitely got to make time for God, which it seems like you do.
Yes.
Yep. But that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. And it's the small groups and everything at church that allow me to do that. If our church wasn't doing anything and it was just up to me and my devices, you know, I might read a daily verse every day, but a daily verse wouldn't really doesn't drive you deeper with
No.
your faith.
And there's something-
And I used to get caught up in the the YouVersion app.
Yeah.
Like the streak. Like gotta have a long streak.
Oh yeah.
And I think my record.
And then when you don't, you're like, I'm a terrible Christian.
Yeah. But now my streak is like one day, and then I'll miss a day, one day. And now I don't think about it like that. I'm like, did I actually open my Bible?
Right.
Did I actually go on YouTube and seek out information and videos about God, or
Yeah, that's
did I play RuneScape too much? No, I'm just-
Yeah.
yeah, but ultimately, it's always a work in progress. No matter where you're at in your life, even I'm to my like in my 70s. Hopefully, I'm still alive, God willing. But I'm probably still going to be trying to figure out how to prioritize. My aunt, she's over 70, and she still chooses everyone else over herself every day, which is admirable. But
Sure.
Yeah.
but I'm
And
like, take care of yourself, woman. Sleep.
Yeah.
Go sit down somewhere.
Right,
But,
because-
she's always volunteering at the church. She's always taking care of somebody's kids. She was a foster parent.
Yeah.
She's always doing, and she always took me in when my dad passed, but she got me in my good years. I was well behaved in high school.
Okay.
But if she would have had me in elementary school,
Oh, is that where you had your trouble?
I wasn't a troubled kid, but
Yeah.
I was so disruptive. My grades were good, but there was always a paragraph from the teacher like, Percy talks too much. How do you get this kid
Yeah.
to shut up? And eventually it's worked out for me. But
Yeah.
So you would say you get a lot of that from just your family, who you are. Like, what makes Percy Garner at the end of the day?
yeah, I would say, because to me, a perfect family is those who can get on each other playfully, also criticize each other for the betterment of, the person down the road, but also, which we don't always do, especially when I was growing up, is show love, like visibly and, just intentionally. With my son, even though he's at that age where he's like, Dad, shut up, like he's afraid to say I love you if someone's around.
Oh, okay.
And I make him do it. I'm like, dude, this is even though how hard my dad
like
was.
Tom Brady me right here.
Oh, never. My dad used to do that to
Give
me.
me a kiss where you're on the lips.
I feel like my last time my dad did that was when I was in 4th or 5th grade, and I was like, bruh.
Too much coffee, man.
Yeah, I was like, no, but I do it in ways. And my dad, he did make it a point, especially later on, like, because before our relation, I mean, I would love to know our relationship, how it would be now. But yeah, it was very much military sergeant. He was in the Air Force, but
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, is there another Percival? How do you say your first name?
Percival.
Percival. Yep.
Garner.
Or is my
From our area that served in the Korean War. There was a
yeah, my grandpa.
That was your grandfather.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he actually, the funny thing is, he served with Krista's grandpa.
Is that right?
Yeah, so, and there's even more connection. My grandma, his wife, is Donnie May. Krista's grandma, who was married to her grandpa before, is Donna May. So it's crazy.
That is
But
crazy.
yeah, I'm the third. I could be the fourth. So this is
okay.
how it goes. So obviously my son is the fourth, and then it's me. Then my dad, who's junior, and his dad is senior. He's the one who served in Korean War.
Okay.
But his dad was Percy, not Percival, Percy with a Y, and he had a middle name, Clarence.
Okay.
So technically, I could be the fourth, but my son, me, my dad, and my grandpa, our name is just Percival Garner,
Yes.
no middle name. So that's why a lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, is your middle name Nunn?" Because on the MLB website, it would say Percy Nunn Garner, and I'm like, no, that just means I don't have a middle name. They're like, oh,
Is your middle name Don?
so
That's a good question.
But yeah, a lot of Percys. We'll see if he keeps it going. My son, hopefully not for another 20 years, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was just curious because when I was, doing some research for this and somebody popped up, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and my dad, the reason I'm a Steelers fan, real quick, is he went to Kent State. He ran track at Kent State, same time as Jack Lambert was there.
Okay.
So, he's been a Steelers fan, and I kind of adopted that. I think that's why him and my mom split up, because she was diehard Browns fan.
Okay.
She would go to the mall in Browns pajamas, and I'm like, Mom, I'm not getting out of the car if you're wearing that. Like, come on now. We can't have Browns helmet tiled all over our pants. Like,
But your mom was an athlete, so she knew what she was talking about. Right? She wasn't just wearing them because she thought they looked cute. She was a Browns fan,
she was a Browns fan.
which says a lot about her because It's hard being a Browns fan.
It is. It is.
It's much easier to be a Steelers fan.
It is.
Even in Ohio.
Yeah, even when I started watching football, the Browns didn't exist, and the Steelers are winning.
The Browns didn't exist when you started watching football.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl with Baltimore. The Browns stopped being
Art
a team.
Modell.
Interesting.
Thanks, Art.
So that's usually thanks, Art.
Actually, I watched a whole documentary on that. I think there was a lot more variables involved with that. It
For
wasn't
sure.
just
It's easy
Art
to
Modell.
blame somebody.
And Art did a heck of a job trying to get the Jacobs Field built.
Now we're trying to get
And the
another
idea,
field built.
the idea was, hey, in turn, we'll help you when you get the Browns. And then he was like, "What about the stadium?" And they were like, "Oh no, we're not moving in that direction right now." And he was like,
Now we're back at that crossroads.
And now we're back at that crossroads. Interesting. And Travis, on our last was it or 2 podcasts ago, Travis was talking about the NFL grades. And I wonder if the Major League Baseball has the similar grades, but they grade the facilities, they grade what it's like for the families, what kind of amenities that are offered. And
Yeah.
Browns didn't do so hot.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely grade that. That's why I think Progressive and the Guardians are doing upgrades right now. They did upgrades last year, and then for this year, I think they're trying to get a younger crowd. You
Yeah,
know,
the
they
kid
got
zone
the
up
party.
there.
Yeah, well, the kid zone's been there, but now they got a new thing like not young, but
Our
people
age.
like Ryan's age going
Oh.
to the game and hanging out.
Right.
Top,
They
you
want
know.
it to be a lot like a place to chill on a Friday night. Yeah.
And there's a lot of those if you look about in the I want to say the end zone, but it's the home run porch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those younger crowds that like to drink, and they throw those dollar dogs with those $2 beers.
Yeah.
That's going to bring that crowd in.
The snake cups. I like seeing those. I don't think they allow those in the major leagues. And the minors. Have you seen anything crazy, or what's some of the crazy stuff you've seen in the minors that they wouldn't allow in the majors ever?
Well, in the minor leagues, between every inning, there's some competition,
Yes.
some race, something going on. I think the one thing they wouldn't allow is the crazy hot dog vendor from the Reading Fighting Phils. This dude, to start the game, they would always have like a video board thing coming on that they pre-recorded, but it looked like it was his vision, like going into the stadium.
Him coming out?
And he would come in, and the Reading Fighting Phils mascot was an ostrich. We had a live ostrich out in center field.
Interesting.
And he would be riding an ostrich. And it's one of those costumes where it's just him,
Yeah.
but it looks like he's riding
looks
on
like
one.
he's riding the
He's got
ostrich.
the legs hanging, you know. It's a crazy. He's actually jacked out of his mind, but and
Like
he's
just
running,
ripped?
ripping hot dogs at the crowd, and yeah,
People are just like, yeah, let me get a glass.
Even the players, every once in a while, if you make good friends with the crazy hot dog vendor,
He throw you one?
he'll toss you one. I
Now,
got one.
is it with a bun and foil, or is he just throwing dogs?
foil?
So it's got foil.
Yeah.
With
I
the
would
bun.
I would never eat a dog.
Just a raw.
No raw dog out of some guy's hand.
hot dog. No, I think fish. You know, that's maybe when you're fishing. That's about it. When you.
Yeah, that's
But I'll
different.
tell you, when I was a kid, I'd grab them out of the fridge every now and then too. I wasn't beyond it, just grabbing a hot dog and eating it cold. Is that
No, I would do that.
Yeah, you would do
Crab
that
meat.
crab meat? What?
Yeah,
we,
it's a hot-
didn't,
different level.
we didn't have
Hot
crab meat in
dogs.
Canton. We just had the hot dogs and the Oscar Mayer.
That's what my dad would get for his lunch, and I'd eat all of his Suzy Q's and his crab meat, and he'd get pissed off.
Oh,
But,
is that right?
yeah. But you know how middle school kids are. They just eat the whole house. That's when they turn a corner, and they
Well,
just
I got a
never
couple
any
high
bit.
school kids in there.
Oh, that's even worse.
It's terrible. I'm thinking about buying some chickens and getting a cow or
Oh
something.
yeah, I bet eggs and milk are.
Eggs and milk. It's crazy. But you know, you do what you can.
Yeah. Well, now that I've talked your ear off for over 2 hours,
This is great.
My
Yeah,
wife might be waiting on me.
I'm so sorry.
Because no, it's all good. I mean, it's mainly my fault for being real. But I did tell, it's funny though, because these are like my podcasts too, where, the goal is 45 minutes.
I think we had
Yeah.
30.
35 to 45.
45, yeah.
But it
Lots of
happens.
great
We
stuff.
knew each other.
Yeah.
I get long-winded with my answers. I thought it was ironic that I even said on one of my last ones, long story short.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like,
I'm just glad we were able. And even in the way we did you want to? Are we done?
I just want to say,
Sorry, gonna add it.
we're very thankful for you to come. If you can catch Percy, you want to keep hearing him. He's on 99 mile an hour.
Eventually, we're gonna get a new episode soon. You're gonna figure out how to follow up the Ted Ginn episode. Though.
Yeah, so the scheduling is hard because most of the people now that I'm doing cold calls every once in a while now of people that I don't know. Like I didn't know Ted Ginn.
No.
No, I didn't know him. Never talked to him. I seen his dad at a camp before, but
I've
that's
seen
about
his dad
it.
at some football camp. The guy walks in like
They bring a whole bus
royalty.
from Glenville.
Yeah, there's like a whole coaching crew that follows him around. at the coach's clinic.
We went to a football camp at Ball State, and he brought a bus.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I really wasn't intimidated by, because I went to Michigan's camp. They had Ryan Mallett there, and I wasn't intimidated by him at first because that was back when I was put together and I looked the part, even though I wasn't fast, but I looked the part. And Ryan Mallett was just sloppy, and I was like, oh, this. And he already got a scholarship. I'm definitely. Then I saw him throw the football. I go, oh,
He could throw it. He could spin it.
yeah, he's 6'6" and he's got a cannon. Okay, I get it. But yeah, it was fun times. But yeah, now I'm just trying to. It's a struggle to schedule someone. You know, my next person is going to be Andre Nottingham. But it's hard. You know, it's going to be a virtual one because obviously you can't get people in and I can't travel everywhere. Right. So that there's a lot of challenges, but I just need to make it happen.
Yeah.
Stop making excuses and make it happen.
So, or you can catch him at
Big Time Sports Podcast.
Big Time Sports Podcast.
Yep.
So that's huge. That's a nice adventure.
Yeah, and that's back to the roots where I started 99, where I was interviewing local, not just sports, you know, pastors,
Yeah, that's
business
kind of the
leaders.
direction we're
But
headed.
Big Time Sports, obviously, I'm trying to get coaches, you know, stuff like that. So, but local sports.
That's our little teaser that we had.
Yeah, actually, we
With the
got a
social
local
media.
sports analyst coming on the podcast. Unfortunately, he's got to follow you. It's just, but I think he'll do a good job. So we got Joe Geckler coming on next episode. So that'll be fun to talk to him. He's got a lot of experience local sports. So
Yeah, I'd like to just pick his brain, his mindset of calling the game and how quick it's going to be.
Yeah,
And
Charlie's been trying to get me to commentate, and I'm so afraid I'll say the wrong thing, so I'm probably never going to do that.
consider it. I think the ultimate product is about the listener, right? And what the listener wants to hear, and they want to hear what somebody like you has
I
to say.
know, but I
about the
won't
game.
comment. Like, I've already done it. They
Like
put
the color
me,
commentary stuff.
He
you
put
just-
me up there in Dover Philly basketball game years ago, and I'm like, shoot that! Like, I'm not even
Gets the
commenting.
rebound, passes to the man, and boom goes the
I'm not-
dynamite.
that's not me. I'm not even doing that. I'm like still watching as a fan, telling the player to do this thing.
You're criticizing. It's like you should have passed that.
Well,
ball.
no, I don't say you should have, but like if I see a guy wide open, I'm like, shoot that. Like you can't be doing that. You got to be like, oh, he's wide open, but he passes that up to get a better shot. Like that's not what I'm saying in the
right.
moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to say something bad, which is
Too
weird
natural.
because I can do live, but when I'm calling a game, it's like a whole different thing.
Yeah, you got to be able to like paint that picture, like tell that story.
Yeah.
On a blank canvas.
And
for
that's
people
not
to
my
listen.
mindset. And I don't want to have to study everybody's name.
Travis
and
does a great job.
I got
at it.
freaking Barrett. See, I'm doing it again. Barrett May. I didn't even know who the heck he was. Tusco TV hired me, and I'm like just getting back into the high school sports scene. I've been gone from
you're
my
talking about
career.
Barron May.
Oh, it is Barron.
Yeah,
See?
it's Barron.
It's Baron.
And I didn't know at
Shout
the
out.
time.
He's playing at Bowling Green this year. I think this would be his
Yeah,
last
he's
year of
freak
eligibility.
athlete,
Super
amazing
athletic.
player, and I don't know who this kid is, and they're just name dropping him like I should know, and I'm like, I've been gone for 8 years. I don't
Right.
know. And I felt so awful, and I'm like, I'm just terrible. So that's when I was like, all right, I can do the 30-second little halftime or sideline things where I can just be like, hey guys, you know, when Barron May got hurt in the Dover Philly game.
Yes, I remember.
Like-
I was up top of the press box.
Yeah, I was actually able. That was like the first authentic moment I had where I was like, crap. I was super sad. You could tell on camera too. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So when like, not that just he was a great player. Obviously, if any kid would have got hurt, it would have sucked. But the way it happened, I was there on the field. I saw it.
Yeah.
And I know this kid's got a bright future. And I'm like, this sucks. But obviously, he's pushing through that.
Well, and you know, God always works, right?
Yep.
And there's an amazing story. Maddox's favorite player on that team, because Maddox was the ball boy. We all love Barron May and Sam Zemus and all that, but for some reason, he really loved Kobe Hoover, who was the backup quarterback. As a player, as a person, as
Really?
a human. And
That's
when,
what's up.
And when Barron May broke his arm, Kobe had to step up, and we ended up winning our playoff game. I think at home. It was a home playoff game, and you know that was a story in itself. Because now,
Yeah.
you know, I think Kobe's in the Air Force right now. So shout
Oh,
out
nice.
to you, Kobe Hoover. But it was an example of high school sports providing a situation, a real life scenario where somebody gets an opportunity to step in and how they're going to step up for the rest of the team. And I think the whole reason why we all love, especially local sports, is those lessons that it teaches that you can't get in the classroom.
For sure.
And whether you only play during your middle school or if you play your high school career or if you get to play on college and play in the majors, there's something to be learned, I think, you know, and I think God uses it
For sure. Sports is great, teacher.
to teach those lessons. So there, even when Barron went down, it was heartbreaking. And I remember, so Greg Perkins does our video, And,
Oh, Greg, love Greg. He's helped me so much.
Isn't he awesome?
You guys,
So I
you
used to
guys
help.
know.
I used to help Perkins on Friday night. I was running a huddle sideline. It was like right when it was new, so you had to hit stop after each play so that it would record and then send it down. Well, at Dover's away, coach's box a little bit smaller, and I didn't get to fit in there with the big dog shot callers, which is fine. But I had to go up top with Perkins, and every day, good play, yeah. And he's like, dude, you are shaking the camera. You have to settle down up here. And I'm, but it's so hard for me because the emotions of the game. And then they were like, so needless to say, I never went on top of a press box with Greg Perkins again. And then eventually they were like, maybe we should get him on the sidelines.
Yeah, there
Let's
we go.
move McClellan down to the sidelines, away from the mics.
Yeah. No, I love Greg, man. The work he's done. He's let me borrow cameras before I made purchases for my podcast and stuff, all that stuff. So,
Yeah, he knows.
But the last thing I want to say real quick, because you were talking about game being a teacher, I just want to encourage kids like, in middle school, I wasn't a star. I was just on the field, didn't get the ball much.
Right.
Same with the beginning of my high school career. I was just on the field. Literally, sophomore year, I played receiver. I think I had 3 touchdowns the whole year.
Yeah.
I probably had single digit. I can count on my hands how many catches I had.
Okay.
And on my touchdowns, I was the last resort. I just happened to be standing in the end zone wide open because no one, like I wasn't a threat. Is my
Right. And then look at it. Your junior, senior year, all Ohio.
So I just want to encourage kids, like, don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
If you're not good in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, you never know what could happen. So,
Right. And there's still a benefit from being a part of the team.
For sure.
Even if you're a guy like me, and you don't reach huge accolades, the game still offers something.
For sure.
And then I'd also like to see him get into more podcasts. I'd love to see kids interviewing other kids before their games.
Ooh, that'd be dope.
I'd love to see kids.
I know Claymont's
having
got a little
podcasts in school, like during a period where
Yeah.
they're talking about their sports. I think that would be fun too.
Andrew Zimmerman is doing that down at Claymont. They've
that
got like an entrepreneurial class where they've made a business. They got an LLC and everything, and they're doing podcasts. And I was on their podcast.
Is that right?
I think it's called it starts with a B. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
But
That's
it's
exciting.
like 3 B's.
Yeah,
Something.
I seen
like
that.
Bell something.
I seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
We're definitely gonna have to check that
pretty
out
cool.
because I think encouraging the youth is the most important thing because it's our future.
Yeah.
If we don't, if we don't do something, we can't really complain about the situation we find ourselves in. So if we're upset with the way society is or the direction that a lot of society seems to be taking, like we gotta change the youth. Man.
Yep.
And I'm all the time saying, go Walmart. You'll see it at Walmart. We have enough people at Walmart walking around that don't care about others and don't care about themselves, and we need to fix the world. And that's, I think, sports is one way we can reach the youth that way.
Yeah,
For sure.
Bigger than that's the community. Keep that in mind. The drive and the community is
For sure.
top notch around here.
Yeah.
All right, Percy. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Are we actually ending?
I think we're gonna.
Because I know I said something like 10 minutes ago about it, and then I just kept going.
Well, I'm pretty sure your wife's knocking at the door right now. It is time for
Yes,
him to go. So,
yes.
but we appreciate your time because
Yeah.
we know that is one of the most valuable things.
For sure.
And for you to make time for us
Yeah, it was fun.
to do this.
Had to be fun if we went over almost 2.5 hours. I haven't done that in 5 years.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, shout out to our sponsor, Right Mark Roofing.
Yeah, right, Mark Roofing, Ryan McClellan. We appreciate that venture too. That's going to be exciting. All your roofing needs. I think I'm going to eventually be giving a shout out to my landscaping guy. I don't know if you know Matthias Landscaping. So, yeah, he cuts my yard. I've known him. We used to work at Foot Locker together back in the day when Foot Locker was in the mall.
Locker.
Foot Locker was in the mall. He remembers
Yeah.
me before I left for the Marines, and then later on in life, we kind of reconnect. And
That's awesome.
All of us have different chapters, and it's just cool to still see him as part of that story, and it's like a connection. So I think I told him I'd give him a plug. So Matthias
awesome.
Landscaping for all your landscaping needs. We're stepping this podcast up,
There
man.
we go.
Yeah.
There we
So if
go.
you like the way we sounded today, by the way, we'll have an affiliate link for the microphones and the Rogue
Love it.
in the description.
Yeah, because this machine is amazing. Love the Roadcaster. Not that they need more marketing, but
Right.
it's
Yeah,
literally the machine if you want a podcast.
It's definitely taken.
you use some of the buttons yet? Change your voices or anything like that? Now it's
Yeah, all kinds of bells and whistles. So hit that affiliate link in our description. Once again, hit the like and subscribe as always. We appreciate you tuning in. And I hope that you enjoyed the podcast as much as we did.
We loved it.
I think it was awesome.
Yeah, I think my card might be full. I didn't even look to see. I didn't anticipate. It said we got 3 hours, so we're good.
Perfect.
But yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Percy.
All right, hit that like and subscribe.
My name is Jason McClellan. This is my brother Ryan McClellan and my dad Dan. And special guest today in studio as well is Zeke.
Become the family psychiatrist at halftime.
Yeah, Dad's like, don't worry, it's really early. I'm like, what the heck is
Calm
going on
down, dude.
today?
We're in the natty,
I
baby.
know I was in church when I seen the alert go off, and so I gave an extra hallelujah.
Yes, sir. So
We should feel very appreciative that he joined us today.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
it must be worth my time. And
You made such a big impact about your life with Jesus Christ and the way that you love God and the way you show it every day. And you start to see this, the younger generation that might have looked up to you when you played.
Yeah.
And now what they're doing, what Ohio State just did, I'd like to just hear your comment.
should all treat people like Danielle treats people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amen.
It would be a better place.